Welcome to Straight from the Gavel. I'm your host, Dave Barber, coming to you this day from room 35 inside the Rhode Island State House, often referred to as the House Finance Room. And it is at this time, each and every week, we like to invite a member of the General Assembly in to learn more about them, discuss some of the things they've been working on and how it might impact you. In fact, all of us here in the Ocean State. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome a gentleman that I have rather recently gotten to know. He is a new member of the Rhode Island House of Representatives. He represents Woonsocket, and it's indeed a pleasure making his first visit to Straight from the Gavel, the Honorable State Representative Steve Casey. Representative, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Dave. It's nice to be here.
It's good to have you here, and recently Capital TV's had an opportunity to spend some time in your district, which we will be talking about a little bit later. But one of the things we like to do, especially when we have a guest on for the first time, is give the audience, the viewers, a chance to know a little bit more about you. Tell our viewers, if you would please, about your personal and professional background.
Okay. I'm originally from Massachusetts. I'm not a Rhode Island native. However, I do have cousins and family down here, so I was, as a child, visited the Ocean State many times. But I grew up north of Boston in Melrose, Massachusetts, graduated Melrose High School, and went to Boston College, graduated Boston College in 1990. After that, I spent a 21-year career in the finance world, I guess you would say, working for mutual fund companies and in the capacity of sales, customer service, also operations management, and then I spent some time in the mortgage industry as well, prior to becoming a member of the Woonsocket Fire Department at the age of 38. And that's what I'm doing now. That's what I really love to do. And as far as coming to the State House or getting finally here, I've been in Woonsocket myself for the last 12 years. I married my wife, Deborah Diziel Hunt. Back in 2009 we were married, but we've been together for quite some time. And we're living in Woonsocket, and as you know, and many people around the state know, Woonsocket's had its difficulties. And we ran into some times when we thought, okay, well, we could leave the city, go somewhere else, make it easier on us financially from a tax standpoint. And my wife's a lifelong resident and said, you know what, let's figure out what we can do, see if we can help. And there was an opportunity to run for the state representative seat, and we took that, and we worked very hard, and now we're here, and we're already through 1 year of session, and it's been quite an interesting road.
You got to tell me, though, the story. You're in the financial world, and then you become a firefighter, two completely different types of professions. I mean, what made you think? I mean, obviously, you're involved in public service with your role here at the State House as a member of the General Assembly. But what prompted you to get into firefighting?
Well, it was in the back of my mind. It was always something that I thought I would like to do. When I first graduated college, these particular avenues in the financial services industry opened up to me. And at the time, I said, okay, I need a job. Let's do what we do. And I just kind of followed that career path, but always in the back of my mind, it was something that I thought, I would enjoy. I was a lifeguard as a young teenager from high school into my college years, and that was something that I always was attracted to. So once the financial services gig was over, I was kind of said, okay, let's see what else is there.
Well, it's pretty interesting, and not only that, but firefighting today has become very sophisticated. What do you specifically do with the fire department? What role? What is your particular title or job?
I'm a private on the Woonsocket Fire Department, so I don't have any official leadership position there. I take orders and I do my job, but my particular job that I am assigned to is I'm the driver of the tower ladder truck that we have. It's a 78,000-pound, 56-foot ladder truck, and we have a ladder that's mechanically operated, hydraulically operated from the back that reaches up to 105 feet. And at the top of that ladder is a pedestal or bucket. And men go up in the bucket, go up onto a roof, cut a hole in the roof to ventilate or to rescue. We put that right up to windows if we need to make a rescue. We also have the capability of pouring water through that apparatus and onto the fire from above.
How high will it go up again?
105 feet.
I get nervous when I wear 2 pairs of socks. I could never do that in a million years. And it was kind of funny because one of the events that we covered with Capital TV was your community's 125th anniversary. And at one point, my videographer pointed out, he said, I think that's Rep. Casey up there in that bucket truck. You were doing something with an arch. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, that's going the extra mile being a volunteer for the 125th anniversary committee. That had to be a prideful moment for your community, that whole entire ceremony and all the festivities.
Yes, it was. It was a really great celebration of the 125th anniversary. Business people from throughout the town and citizens from throughout the town got together and raised money to fund this. There was no city money that was involved in throwing the 125th anniversary party. And what happened was I had an opportunity where I had some time available, and I went to the people that were running it, Mr. Matt Moylan and Al Beauperlant and Linda Plays, and they're all members of our community. And I said, what can I do? I've got a couple of days. And they ended up asking me to help them with what they built was a replica of the Arch de Triomphe. And it was a metal staging that was put up by a company called Lynn Ladder Company. And then there was a facade that we built on the top of it. And it was constructed by volunteers. And I helped to assemble all of that. And then my brother-in-law, Ronnie Diziel, who is a local artist, and you know from previous experience,
right?
He designed, and he and another artist designed and painted murals to be hung from that arch to actually make it look like a cement structure that it is in France.
Yeah, it was marvelous. And I'll tell you something. You alluded to the fact that Woonsocket has had some financial difficulties, but boy, oh boy, if you'd have been there the night of that party, of that festival, of that celebration, you would have never thought for 1 second that Woonsocket had any problems. I mean, there were thousands of people from multiple states who came and participated. That committee did a marvelous job because you had all kinds of entertainment. The city was alive and vibrant and bustling. It was hugely successful. I got to believe you were thrilled with the way it turned out, but it was a marvelous celebration.
Absolutely. Throughout the stretch of Main Street, there were 12 separate stage areas. There were bands and or performances on all of these stage areas going on at the same time. So there were crowds of people all throughout the entire Main Street area. And it's a testament to the fact that, you know, yes, we all have tough times. Our state is having a tough time, but I think that if we can all just come together, celebrate what we have and the history that we have. Woonsocket has a great history. Our state has a great history. And when people put all the other troubles aside and we come together, I think, you know, we can accomplish a lot. And that just goes to show, they ran about 6 or 7 different fundraisers in a matter of 5 weeks. There was something going on every few days, and people were showing up, donating money, having a good time, and that's what it's all about.
There's an old sales axiom that says you can't sell the steak without the sizzle. I think Woonsocket during that 125th anniversary celebration really sold the sizzle. You know, it's easy to zero in on some of the tough challenges that your community's facing, but Woonsocket has a rich history. They got great architecture. They have some fine restaurants. They have a tremendous French-Canadian allegiance and influence, and a cultural influence that is remarkable. And it just goes to show you that sometimes if we toot our own horn a little bit, things can get done, and I was totally impressed. And then maybe this is a sign of a change in your community, because then you have this thing called the Autumn Fest that you host on Columbus Day. Again, Capital TV was there for that. It was a Norman Rockwell setting. It was a perfectly brilliant fall day with the fall colors and the bands and all of the various assembled groups who participated in the parade. Again, thousands upon thousands of people. I talked to one couple that got there at 4 o'clock in the morning because they liked this one particular seat. They got there at 4 o'clock in the morning to get their place in line to watch the parade. And again, maybe it's a sign of good things to come. You've caught a couple of real good breaks.
I think it is. It's truly amazing. This year's Autumn Fest was the 35th anniversary. And I have, since being part of the fire department, I'm a member of the Honor Guard with the fire department, so I've marched in the parades since I've become a member of the fire department. But my first Autumn Fest and my first ever trip to Woonsocket was back in 1988. On the 100th anniversary, I was a member of the Boston College Marching Band. And we marched in the Autumn Fest parade, and what a wonderful event it was then. I couldn't believe, number one, how long. It's a very long parade, but it's also just such a huge event. I couldn't believe the number of people there lined up at the Diamond Hill, the number of groups, bands, floats, all kinds of activities lined up throughout Diamond Hill for the kickoff of the parade.
And the business community had to love it.
It's really good for the business community. A lot of the businesses come down and have a booth at the Autumn Fest celebration to have their food sales and vendors. There's hundreds and hundreds of vendors that come. We have entertainment through every hour of the day that the Autumn Fest is open. There's entertainment on stage, as well as entertainment in the beverage tent that we have there.
Well, again, these, as Bob Dylan said, these times they are a-changin'. You also have a new mayor, and a former colleague of yours, yes. Lisa Baldelli Hunt, is the new mayor of Woonsocket. Tell us about that process. She's been inaugurated as the new mayor. How did that whole process go?
Went very well. She ran a very, very successful campaign, and she got a lot of support from our colleagues here in the House of Representatives, as well as locally. She had an incredible number of volunteers to help throughout the campaign, and I think the city itself was looking for some change, and that's what we have now. And now she has a lot of work to do, and she's pledged to give us she's asked for some time and pledged to, after 100 days, give us a State of the City address to let us know really where we are and where we're going to be going from there. And I have pledged to her my support to be able to, anything that I can do from the state level to help her, I will do that.
Well, I did not have the good fortune of ever meeting or interviewing your previous mayor. Obviously, I interviewed Representative Baldelli Hunt when she served here in the General Assembly. But when you said people want to change, I guess so. I mean, she won very handily, a big margin of victory. So obviously, there must be a lot of frustration in Woonsocket in people seeking that sort of change.
I think so, but I really have to express thanks and gratitude also to Leo Fontaine, because he had given many years of service throughout. He was a member of, I believe, a member of the school committee, then a member of the city council for years, and then becoming mayor. And he's given a lot of his time and effort to do the best that he could for our city. So I do thank him for that service. And yes, I think at this point, it got to a head where we have a budget commission in place. We received we at the General Assembly had to vote for a supplemental tax at the request of the Budget Commission.
Sure.
And it's a very hard pill for people to swallow at any time. So, when those things happen, it's a matter of circumstance as well, that people just want to see something different, and I think that we're going to be moving in the right direction from here.
Obviously, your eyes, like a laser beam, are on your district and that community. You have a new mayor. Generally speaking, are you optimistic?
Absolutely. I think that if you don't have a good attitude about what you're doing and where we can go, then you don't really belong out there. I like to be part of the solution, and I think that is the most important thing, to be available for the community, to do whatever you can.
You also serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee for the House of Representatives. You are co-sponsor of many bills that deal with veterans. Obviously, this is something quite important to you.
It is. My family and my wife's family, we all have family members, past, and family members who are still alive, who have served in the military or are currently serving. And I think that it's absolutely one of the most important things that we can do, to be able to do anything that we can to help our service people, members returning, also our veterans who have served in all the past wars. One of the things that I've been involved with recently in Rhode Island here is with the honor flight. And
that's cool. That was like in September, right?
yes.
Tell our viewers about that honor flight. You actually went on the flight, but first tell them what it is and what you accomplished by doing that.
Okay. I found out about the honor flight through the Rhode Island Fire Chiefs Association. Through my work experiences, I've met a few of the members of the Rhode Island Fire Chiefs Association, and I learned about the honor flight program, which is a cause that they have taken up over time. And the goal of the honor flight is to get as many World War II veterans down to Washington, D.C. to see their memorial for the war and to honor them for their service and what they did for our country. And that goal that's happening all over the United States at this point. The particular honor flight that I took part in was on September 28th. And this was sponsored by Ocean State Job Lot and Mark Perlman and the Perlman family. What a great job that they did. Ocean State Job Lot actually chartered flights. I believe there were 5 or 6 flights that particular day from different locations throughout the country. Ours leaving from Rhode Island. And I was able to take a very good friend of mine who was a World War II veteran. I was his guardian, and he was the veteran, and I was able to take him on the flight, and he couldn't have been more happy, more appreciative, and I think it was just a wonderful thing to be able to honor all of those veterans. So we had a plane with 65 veterans, 65 guardians, and full medical staff, sponsors, and also the Perlman family and members of the Ocean State Job Lot community.
Well, listen, kudos to Job Lot. It's one of my favorite stores, by the way. But when you think about it, these World War II vets, God bless them, but they're at an age where they may not have a lot of time left to see this particular memorial. How touching was it when you actually got there?
That's correct. The most important thing about this goal and the honor flight program is that the clock is ticking. Their goal is to get as many veterans down there. And most of these veterans are either in their upper 80, 90,
sure,
and 100-year-old. And we actually had on our flight a 100-year-old veteran. And so, yes, it is extremely important for them to get as many veterans as they can down there.
What did it mean to your friend that you took?
He couldn't have been more happy. When I found out that I was going to be able to travel along with this group with him, I went to his house and I let him know what was going on, and he couldn't have been more happy. He looked like he was going to cry, but he's a tough old World War II veteran who doesn't cry and doesn't take credit for a lot of what he did. Right. But I'll tell you, he's a very modest man, and you could see in his eyes how much it touched him. And not only that, but since then, every time that I've spoken to him, and I see him probably once a week, he's just constantly appreciative of the fact that we did that. And I was able to take my own camera. I took my own photos, and I made a photo album for him, as well as I had video on my camera, which I was able to get put together on a video. And so he has a disc commemorating the day from the start to finish and everything that we did. And it was just a wonderful thing.
It's a reason why they're called the greatest generation. I have a late uncle that I was particularly close to who was involved in the first wave of the invasion of Normandy. And unfortunately, although he survived, he came back and was never really the same afterwards, according to my family. They didn't have the sophisticated names for it like they do now. Post-traumatic stress, battle fatigue, shell-shocked. My uncle was never quite the same. These men and women who served during World War II are just special people. You also serve on the House Labor Committee. Interesting committee to serve on?
Yes. Really, I didn't know what to expect when I was first in the committee meetings. I am highly involved. Obviously, I'm a union firefighter. That's part of the job. Whether you want to be in the union or not, if you become a fireman, this is what you do. But I like to be part of that committee, understand all the intricacies of what goes on in legislation and how certain businesses are affected by certain laws and how certain groups are affected by certain laws. It's been quite an education, I would have to say.
Well, the process itself, you've got a year under your belt serving in the House of Representatives. Has it been enjoyable, and is it what you expected?
It's been overwhelmingly enjoyable. It's not completely what I expected. It's actually a lot more time-consuming than I had originally thought it would be. But this is what you learn as you go. When there are important things to be addressed, this is what you do. You spend the time in addressing them. I think the most important thing about serving here is that you're one of 75 people. You personally by yourself cannot change the world, and you personally yourself will not have all the answers to all the tough questions, and that's why it's such a collaborative effort. And I think the time that we spend in session is very important, but the time that we spend before and after session getting to know people, getting to know the representatives from other districts. I know there were 16 freshmen in my class, and I've taken the time and gotten to know all of those people, and I say we have a very good working relationship, and with some of them a very good personal relationship. And I think that's part of what builds the team to be able to conquer whatever we face.
Well, you go back into session January 7th. You won't have 75 because Lisa Baldelli Hunt, Mayor Lisa Baldelli Hunt, will not be there.
That's correct.
What's going to happen to fill that seat from Woonsocket?
There's going to be a special election. Today is December 10th. There will be a period this Thursday and Friday where candidates will declare their candidacy.
That's the cutoff time?
I believe the cutoff is Friday,
right,
so it'll be Thursday and Friday. And then I don't know the exact dates, but there'll be an election in mid to late January, a primary, and then a general election in February. And I believe the goal is to have the seat filled within the first week of March.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Another project that you were a part of, and again, Capital TV tagged along, was this tour that many representatives are concerned, you of course included, about the economy and economic development. There was a tour of the Quonset Development Park recently. We videotaped it. What was that all about, and what did you come away with?
Well, the reason from the tour was to basically give the representatives who had not had a lot of experience with Quonset an eye-opening tour of what they do there currently, the businesses that have expanded into that area, and what their plans are for expansion of that park. And my understanding of, and what I took away from it, is that this Quonset development group has been working on this plan for many, many years, and I think that that's the key. They've planned the development of this park from the beginning and have watched it all the way through. It wasn't that they were looking for a home run 10 or 15 years ago and saying we can do this in steps. We need to make this a process. And they've got quite an operation there. They're bringing cars in, shipping cars in. There are many different companies that are based. Torrey Plastics Ocean State Job Lot is down there now. And I believe some of these companies are expanding as well. So it's wonderful to be able to see a plan that's working and coming together, and maybe we can take some of those ideas up to the northern Rhode Island area.
But there's still a lot of upside potential there, right?
Absolutely. They have the ability to expand greatly. There's room for new businesses to come in, and their doors are open. They have a permitting process that takes that they have consolidated into, instead of some companies will try to come into a particular district or a city, and it takes 2 years to get through a permitting process. They have a 90-day window where they come in and say, okay, here's the packet, here's the paperwork, let's fill it out. From the start to 90 days, we can get the business started. I think that's just an amazing quality, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to have here in Rhode Island, something that will probably be mirrored in other areas in the country as well.
One of the things I've heard about you in the building is that when it comes to Woonsocket, you're everywhere. You enjoy interacting with constituents. You talk to a lot of constituents. You meet with a lot of constituents. You know the old expression, you'd go to an opening of an envelope. You're everywhere. You're very visible. What are the folks in your district telling you? What kind of feedback are you getting from them?
Well, I think that people are happy just to see you out in the public. And I think one of the things that has really helped, we are going to rebound. Woonsocket is on its way. We have a lot of work to do. It's not going to be easy, but people are starting to understand that, yes, we are working in the right direction. I think that there's now a tide of volunteerism that we're starting to see. People want to get involved. I think we kind of need to, make this snowball. And a part of my campaign when I originally started running for office was that, we all have to come together. We're all in it together. We can't sit and blame people. Let's just say this is where we're at, and let's try to put things back together. And when you're out in the public, people like to see that. Say hello to everybody, talk to people, listen to what they have to say and their issues.
And I think the fact that you've said to your new mayor that from the state level you'll do all you can. I believe in the old adage, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Let's have some ideas. Let's have a meeting of the minds. With the 2014 session right around the corner, as I said, January 7th, first session day, have you given much thought to your own priorities, to some things that are high on your radar screen that you want to work on this coming year? Well,
I think that one of the most important things is we have struggling communities. Obviously, business, everybody wants to take care of business here in Rhode Island. We need to bring more businesses in, broaden our tax base statewide. But what I think is important is we still have to help those communities that are struggling, and there are a couple of initiatives that I'm working on, one with Representative Sicarchi regarding a bill that he's working on for any budget surpluses that we can take 50% of those budget surpluses and use those to help the cities and towns that are struggling, and use it only towards debt or bond reduction, deficit reduction, pension deficit reduction, so that we can help the struggling communities stay up. I mean, we're only as good as the weakest link in the chain, and if we have cities struggling, then we can't survive from an entire state level. The other one that I'm working on is for the fair funding formula, again, for our education, for our students. Woonsocket is on the low end of the receiving totem pole as far as that's concerned. So I'm trying to work. I'm working with Mia Ackerman, and we want to get something done so we can accelerate that formula once again and see what we can do for our education. For the kids.
Representative Casey, I want to thank you so much for being our guest. Thanks for sharing your information with us. But I also want to thank you for your work as a firefighter. I don't think there's a profession I have more respect for and more admiration of than people that do what you do. No amount of money is going to get me into a burning building. Best of luck to you and your colleagues in 2014. And for goodness sakes, while out there working on the Woonsocket Fire Department, continued success, but be safe.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate you being here with me, and I appreciate you having me here. And it's been nothing but a great experience.
Thanks a million. And of course, we could not do it without you. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dave Barber, and remember, you heard it straight from the Gavel.